James Carter strode into the bank with the confidence of a man who knew his worth. At 50, his tailored suit was crisp, his briefcase screamed power, and atop his head sat a bold red cap emblazoned with "Make America Great Again." The bank hummed with activity, keyboards clacked, phones buzzed, and the coffee machine gurgled in the corner. Customers shuffled through, some engrossed in their devices, others exchanging hushed words with tellers. The air was thick with the sterile efficiency of corporate life, the kind that made you feel like a number, not a person. James scanned the room, his sharp eyes landing on an open desk where a young banker, Ethan Brooks, sat. Ethan, 30, looked like the monotony of his job had ground him down. His tie hung loose, his face a mix of exhaustion and quiet resentment. James approached, his presence commanding attention. "Good afternoon," he said, his voice calm but firm. "I need help with my account." Ethan glanced up, his gaze snagging on the red cap. His lips twitched, a flash of disdain crossing his face before he masked it with a thin smile. "ID, please," he muttered, barely looking at James as he tapped at his keyboard. James slid his driver's license across the desk, his movements deliberate, unhurried. Ethan took the card, squinting at it as if it held the secrets of the universe. Silence stretched, tense and heavy, until Ethan leaned back, his voice low but cutting. "You think this country's great because of guys like you?" The words sliced through the bank's hum, sharp and deliberate. A few nearby customers froze, their eyes darting toward the desk. James raised an eyebrow, his face unreadable, but the air crackled with tension. He didn't bite, not yet. Ethan, emboldened by the silence, leaned forward, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Sorry, sir, but I can't help you right now. Maybe try another bank. One that aligns with your views." The room seemed to hold its breath. A woman at the next desk stifled a gasp, her pen hovering over a form. James's jaw tightened, but his composure held. Without a word, he retrieved his ID, tucked it into his wallet, and adjusted his briefcase. Every move was calculated, like a predator sizing up its prey. Then, with a final glance at Ethan, he turned and walked out. The glass doors hissed shut behind him, but the weight of his exit lingered. 3 hours later, the bank's doors slid open again, and James returned. This time, he wasn't alone. Flanking him were 2 attorneys, their suits as sharp as their glares, and a woman in her late 40s, her name tag reading, "Margaret Hayes, Regional Manager." Margaret moved with the precision of someone who'd faced corporate storms and come out unscathed. Heads turned, conversations died, and the bank's hum faltered. Ethan, mid-joke with a coworker, froze. The color drained from his face as he scrambled to close a game on his computer. Margaret marched straight to Ethan's desk, her heels clicking like a ticking bomb. James hung back, his expression a mask of calm, while the attorneys loomed like silent enforcers. "Mr. Brooks," Margaret began, her voice ice cold. "Care to explain why you refused service to this client earlier today?" Ethan's mouth opened, then closed, his eyes darting between Margaret and James. It was a mistake," he stammered. "I thought he was with another bank. Honest mix-up." His voice cracked, betraying his panic. Margaret's eyebrow arched, unimpressed. One of the attorneys stepped forward, producing a stack of documents with a flourish. "These," he said, his tone clipped, "are formal complaints filed by Mr. Carter, corroborated by witnesses present during the incident. Your mix-up included unprofessional remarks that violate company policy." Ethan stared at the papers, his hands trembling. The bank was silent now, every eye on him. He tried again, his voice weak. "I didn't mean it. It won't happen again." Margaret leaned in, her gaze unrelenting. "Discrimination based on appearance or beliefs isn't just against policy, Mr. Brooks. It undermines everything this institution stands for." Ethan nodded frantically, but the weight of her words crushed any hope of escape. Margaret straightened, turning to the attorneys. "We'll handle this internally. Mr. Carter, if you need further assistance, we're at your service." As they left, James lingered, stepping closer to Ethan's desk. "You never know who you're dealing with," he said, his voice low, laced with quiet menace. Ethan didn't respond, his face a mask of dread as James walked out. The next morning, the bank was a ghost of its usual self. Whispers slithered through the cubicles, and the coffee machine sat untouched. Word had spread, the new regional CEO was coming for an emergency review. No one knew why, but the tension was palpable. Ethan was a wreck, pacing near his desk, shuffling papers to look busy. His coworkers shot him wary glances, sensing he was the eye of the storm. When the doors opened, the room fell silent. In walked a tall figure, flanked by two executives. Ethan's stomach plummeted as he recognized James. No red cap this time, just a pristine suit and a gaze that could freeze fire. James surveyed the room, his presence suffocating. "Good morning," he said, his voice steady but laced with steel. "I'm here to address concerns about this branch's integrity." Ethan shrank into his chair, his hands shaking. James's eyes lingered on him for a heartbeat, just long enough to make his blood run cold. The review was brutal. James questioned employees one by one, his questions sharp, his demeanor unrelenting. When Ethan's turn came, he could barely hold his folder steady. Inside James's office, the silence was deafening. "Explain your behavior yesterday," James said, his tone calm but deadly. Ethan fumbled, his words a jumbled mess. "It was a misunderstanding. I didn't know." James cut him off with a raised hand. "The facts speak for themselves." The meeting ended swiftly, and by noon, the verdict was clear. Ethan and a few others were terminated, their desks cleared under the watchful eyes of their peers. New policies rolled out, mandatory ethics training, stricter customer service oversight. The message was unmistakable: this bank was under new rule. Hours later, James stood in his corner office, gazing at the city skyline. There was no smirk, no gloating, just a quiet satisfaction. He hadn't acted for revenge but for principle. Sometimes, the most powerful response isn't loud or flashy, it's deliberate, unshakable, and final. What would you have done in James's shoes? Was his response justified, or did he go too far? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know how you view his actions. Have you ever faced a situation where personal beliefs clashed with professional duty? Your voice matters. Let's spark a conversation that drives change. Like and subscribe for more stories that challenge the status quo.